We are standing in what is actually part of Lake Arcabutla. Now, we told you last month how the Army Corps of Engineers needed to lower the water level to fix a potential breach in the dam. That left this whole area exposed, and a historian tells us that it's home to an ancient burial ground. 2 losses on the road to Los Angeles. One of them a very close loss in overtime. We're going to speak to a gentleman here. Now, you have been to every postseason home game so far. We're at the Earth, Wind, and Fire show right now. You can hear them laying down that funk. Now, we tried to cook mac and cheese with the prison stove for about half an hour and couldn't make any part of it work. That's just more credit to Willie, because in his videos, he makes it look easy. We'll take a look at this indictment. You can see the list of counts just runs the length of the whole page. No official details, but I want to show you what we're looking at back here. You can see a police car there on the edge of the parking lot, another an SUV there on the far side of it, and yet another one here in the parking lot of the gas station that we're standing at. Now, 3 officers there standing around a red trike, a 3-wheeled motorcycle. It absolutely did, Daryl. There are trees down on pretty much every block here, but here on Wilshire Road, there are 2 trees down within just a few houses of each other. I mean, you can see this one where the whole root ball came up, and then just over there on the other side of the street, yet another tree down. That one went into a house. Now, crews have been out here since about 3 o'clock trying to clear the road, but as you can see, that is still a work in progress. Now, there's a car on Will Scarlett Road that was also crushed by a tree. Further up that same block, a family's living room caved in when a tree fell on their home. One neighbor here on Wilshire Road says he grabbed a chainsaw as quickly as he could and started clearing the way out of one house on the street because someone was trapped inside.
So I cleared some branches back in there just so if the fire department had to come through, they were here earlier, they'd have a way to get through. So we cleared that. And then my neighbor across the road, their house was kind of had the tree land on it, and they couldn't get in or out either door, and there was somebody inside. So we were able to use the saw to clear the backyard out.
Now, that man says his neighbors were grateful for the help because one of them was wheelchair bound and needed access to his ramp. Here comes another dump truck. As you can see, we've got professional crews here doing this, but here's a word of warning. You know, that situation you just heard that young man describe, taking a chainsaw, you want to be very careful if you're going to do that. In reality, only doing it with small branches that are lying around. Really, you should leave that kind of work to the professionals, because if you cut in the wrong place, you could shift the weight of that tree, and it could cause injury, more damage to the home, or in severe cases, even death. Now, we're going to be back out here again at 6 o'clock with another look at what's going on in this part of town. Well, Margie Campbell says she'd been a patient of Dr. Mock's for over a year and that he was helping her overcome pain from arthritis and carpal tunnel in her hand. Now, she says that she was at the clinic yesterday morning and met with Dr. Mock just hours before he was killed.
It's hard to believe that someone could walk in a doctor's office like that and just pull out a gun and just shoot him like that.
Margie Campbell says after she got home from her appointment with Dr. Mock, she saw posts on Facebook about a police presence at the Campbell Clinic. She watched the news unfold and saw a place she'd visited regularly turned upside down.
I saw one of his nurses on TV this afternoon. They were holding her up to walk, or yesterday I guess it was, but holding her up to put her in the car, and she's the one that, when I left, that gave me my physical therapy orders.
She waited anxiously to learn who had been killed and was floored to learn it was her own beloved doctor who'd performed surgery on her and helped her to overcome pain in her hand. The doctor she'd been with just hours before.
It said a physician, had been shot, and I'm thinking, surely it's not Dr. Mock. But it was, so I was really upset about it.
Campbell says she wasn't sure if she should speak about her experience, but she thought back on her history with him. In the end, she decided it was important to let those who never got the chance to meet him know that he was a doctor like few others.
I wasn't going to begin with, and I needed to honor him. So I said I would, because he was so special. I mean, you can tell that by all the patients he had, and everybody just brags on him.
Now, the patient accused of killing Dr. Mock faces first-degree murder charges as well as an aggravated assault charge, and he's being held on a $1.2 million bond and set to be arraigned tomorrow. Now take a look at this. You can see crews have been ripping this semi-truck in half to try and get it out from under that bridge over there. You can see it ran into that bridge. It's got a railroad track on top at around noon. Now that bridge is clearly labeled as being 11 feet 8 inches tall, but neighbors say that hasn't stopped semi-trucks from crashing into. In fact, they say it happens about once a week.
The trailer done collapsed. It's stuck on his fifth wheel. So more than likely, we're gonna try to just winch him up out of there.
The semi-truck was jammed so far under the bridge, its trailer buckled. It was stuck so tight that after hours of trying to pull it out, the tow truck driver decided to just rip it apart to try and get it out. That still wasn't enough to pull it out, so they had to bring in another tow truck and a forklift. Neighbors say this is the worst they've seen one stuck, but the loud sound of a truck hitting that low-hanging bridge has become all too common.
And suddenly there's this sonic boom that World War III is happening. Land back in your seat and you check if your heart is still functioning. So it's scary when it happens.
This neighbor shared 2 videos of previous truck crashes at the bridge. He says one time 4 trucks crashed into it in a single night. Usually, he says, it's U-Hauls, but it happens to the pros too.
Is it like a fraternity hazing thing? That you're like, let's keep ramming into the same underpass. It's like, oh, you did, that was good, but mine's gonna be better. Hold my beer.
Neighbors say the warning sign should be enough to keep this from happening, but it just doesn't seem to work.
It happens so often, and I don't know what else you could have on the road as a warning sign other than a big sign saying 11.8.
You know your truck is at least 13 something. So before you come into areas like this, just make sure you got the right clearance before you come in there.
I spoke to the truck's driver, but he did not want to be interviewed. He says that this truck was hauling food-grade salt and that all needs to be destroyed because now it's contaminated. He claims that this is his first accident in the 40 years he's been trucking and says he ended up in this part of town because he got confused following detour signs. In Memphis, Bilyeu, FOX 13 News.